Good evening or good morning, depending on where you are. I'd like to welcome you all and thank everyone for joining us. I'm Atsuko Ichikawa, one of the Education USA advisors in Tokyo. I will be a moderator for today. Today's session is hosted by Education USA Tokyo and Osaka. Before introducing 6 wonderful speakers for today, let me briefly introduce about Education USA. Education USA is a U.S. Department of State network of over 400 advising centers in more than 117 countries and territories. The network promotes U.S. higher education to students around the world by offering accurate, comprehensive, and current information about opportunities to study at accredited post-secondary institutions in the United States. In Japan, we have 6 Education USA centers at the U.S. Embassy and consulates. Again, today's session is hosted by Education USA Tokyo and Osaka. If you have any questions, please contact Education USA near you. So now please join me in welcoming 6 wonderful speakers for today. By alphabetical order of institutions, Bobby from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Elizabeth from Minnesota State University, Mankato, and Rashad from Missouri Western State University, and Christopher from Orange Coast College, and Scott from Pepperdine University, and Yusuf from Stony Brook University. And now I'll hand it over to Christopher, sorry. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, so Christopher, you can share your screen now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Atsuko, for having us here today. I'm going to quickly share my screen for the participants of today's webinar so you can see our presentation. Okay. Okay. 皆さん、こんにちは。はじめまして。私は名前は Christopher Toribio です。よろしくお願いします。For attending today's presentation, ありがとうございます。I'm really excited to be here today to speak to all of you and also have a wide range of universities from across the United States to provide you tips to applying to U.S. universities in the current times. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly introduce, we already introduced the panelists, however, here is our business card. So please go ahead and take a screenshot if you'd like to follow us with us after the presentation. Okay, so this is the first. So my name is Christopher Turbio. I'm from Orange Coast College in Costa Mesa, California. Okay. And I'll have the panelists go ahead and self-introduce themselves.
Hello guys, my name is Yusuf, International Admissions Counselor from Stony Brook University.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth from Minnesota State University, Mankato. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Rashad Howes. I'm a Director of International Recruitment at Missouri Western State University. Thanks for being here with us.
Hello, good evening, good morning, everyone. My name is Scott McClama. I'm the International Recruitment Manager at Pepperdine University. Thank you for having us today.
Okay, so we'll do, here's the overview of today's presentation. So it is a very comprehensive presentation about the various steps about applying to U.S. universities in the current times, meaning COVID-19. So we'll go over the application process, finding the right fit, admissions updates, scholarships, the visa process, and university highlights. So we'll spend about 1 to 2 minutes to talk about our individual institutions. And we'll also talk about resources for international students in regards to the current situation during the COVID-19 pandemic, as we have many international students still currently in the United States pursuing their studies despite the pandemic. Now, the first thing that we encourage students to do when they are applying to U.S. universities is to do an application readiness inventory, meaning do an assessment of your preparedness and also your credentials when you're applying to U.S. universities. So some things that you should do an inventory of is what you're interested in, because that's going to help determine and narrow down the institutions that you would like to apply to. Your curriculum selection and test prep. This is a very important part. Is the curriculum in your university or your high school competitive to the universities that you're applying to? Well, I do know that in Japan that the secondary high school curriculum is very standard, but are you doing the test preps? So because of COVID-19, however, most of us are test optional or are not requiring the SAT or ACT. So most importantly, for a lot of international students, do prepare for the English proficiency test, whether it is the TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, Step Aiken, anything that the institution would accept to meet the English proficiency requirement for the school. Also, look at your marks, grades, and exam scores. Are those going to also be competitive and fits the profile of the institution that you're applying to? And also, it's more than just your marks, grades, and test scores. For many universities, especially since many universities are test optional, they will look at your extracurricular involvement and leadership. So our recommendation is go ahead and again, do an assessment and put everything in a resume, CV, or checklist. So that way, when you're applying to your university or college, you have something ready and available and organized. You'll oftentimes find that many universities, although our requirements are different, there's a lot of overlap. So just keeping a resume, CV, or checklist and doing an inventory and adding to it is really going to help you. So our biggest tip is just start early. Start early in the process, as your success in applying to U.S. universities really does come down to your preparation and how early that you started. And ganbare, do your best. I'm going to go ahead and switch it to my colleague, Yusi, to talk about the type of institutions.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, everyone. Yes, as my colleague said, definitely starting early is a key thing, is part of the very important things you need to do when applying to U.S. universities. One of the things you need to do as well is familiarize yourself with the different terminologies that you will come across as you conduct your college search. One of the very first things you need to do after doing your self-analysis or self-assessment and being able to articulate clearly who you are academically is getting to know the types of schools and institutions that actually exist in the United States. In the US, there are more than 4,400 different institutions. They could be public, private, four-year colleges, community colleges, private career colleges. Knowing the difference and what each one actually means is very important. When we look at public, they are known for being funded by a local state government. They're known for having a low tuition fees simply because they are funded by a local. They're probably known also for being in research, conducting a lot of research that is funded by the local government. Also, private institutions, and we have a great example today, that's Pepperdine, offer same tuition rates regardless of state residency, not affiliated with the government, of course, but they do provide or offer a wide range of scholarships that could probably range up to 100%. There are four-year colleges, and that four-year colleges here stand for colleges that where you could. It's not only a college where you would get, or university where you get only a bachelor's degree, but you could also get advanced degrees like master's and PhD, professional and school, medical, law degrees, and certificates. There are private career colleges, and they could be technical, vocational, for-profit, and can be public as well. Then there is the two-year college where you could get the associate degree, and I'm going to stop here because we have someone who is very specialized in that area, and hand it over to Chris.
All right, thank you, UC. Yes, again, I represent a two-year community college, and actually, community colleges are very common for many students from Japan. In fact, the majority of students in Japan pursuing their undergraduate studies or begin their undergraduate studies actually begin at a two-year community college. And they're very common that actually 50% of American students will begin their undergraduate studies at a two-year college. And there's, again, roughly about 96,000 students, and a big number of them are actually from Japan. But basically how a community college is that we specialize in two-year undergraduate programs. So We have open enrollment. We do not require the SAT or ACT. Basically, you just have to graduate from high school and meet the English proficiency requirement, which is typically not very high. And one of the reasons why there's many students international students that do study in the US are two reasons primarily. One is to improve their English proficiency to be academically prepared for university study. And also to save money, as community colleges are typically a lot less expensive for the same 2 years of your undergraduate study as a university. So you complete your first 2 years of undergraduate studies, earn an associate's degree, then transfer to an institution, or you can transfer without an associate's degree. And again, an associate's degree is the credential that you earn after you complete your first 2 years of your undergraduate studies. One really great opportunity of obtaining an associate's degree is doing optional practical training, which is an opportunity for you to do 1 year of basically work in something related to your program. And then many students use that as a gap year before applying and transferring to a university. As you enter the university, your credits are going to transfer from the community college and you complete your final 2 years of your undergraduate studies and ultimately earning your bachelor's degree. Again, it's a very popular option for many international students, particularly in Japan, and something that I do encourage students to look at and also consider. Thank you, Yusi. I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Chris. Yes. So now that you know how to conduct a self-assessment and the different educational systems, the different educational institutions that exist actually in the United States, there is the part where you're ready to choose the right university or the right institution for you. In doing so, there are different aspects that we advise students to consider when choosing the right university fit. The first thing that you see here is called location. When we mean by location, you are coming from Japan, you need to know where do you want to study in the United States? Do you want to be do you want a college or a university or a community college that actually is located in the city, outside the city, suburban, rural? Do you want it to be closer to the beach? Do you want it to have do you want the weather to be pretty much similar to where you are coming from? Do you want it a little hot, mild? So these are all questions you need to ask yourself and also have answers to when looking at the right institution for you. There's value here, and we mean by that the tuition fees, how much you will be paying, the budget that you have for your studies in the United States. That we do also refer to hereby the scholarships available at that particular institution. So basically, ask the question, what are the scholarships that are available, what type of scholarship, what is the deadline, and we will talk more elaborately by this by my colleagues. Scott will give you some really good advices on how to navigate the scholarships in the United States. Then the third thing is called academics. So what we mean here by academics is you have a major in mind, you have an institution in mind that you found based on the location and the value, but you want to ask questions of the rankings. What is the ranking of that university? What is the ranking of the major? Does that university has the major that you want to do, that you want to pursue to achieve or to your dream job? What kind of internships available and career opportunities? Then there is also campus life. Campus life here, you have the right. It's one of the things you also need to consider when choosing the right university. Living on campus is something you need to have an answer to. Do you want to live on campus? Do you want to live off campus? If you want to live on campus, you need to ask the institution, is that guaranteed? Is it guaranteed for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Given the current situation of COVID-19, what are the new regulation? How am I being safe? What are the things that I need to follow? And so on and so forth. Is housing guaranteed? Very good question. What is offered on campus? What kind of food is offered on campus? Are there clubs, gyms? Are there associations, and so on and so forth? Then there is the culture or diversity. Am I welcome to that university? Are cultures being supported, being welcomed? What type of organizations available? What kind of activities available related to my culture? How many international students actually study at that particular university, coming from Japan, I would love to know if there will be some Japanese students that actually study at that, or am I going to be the only the Japanese students? So very good questions to ask, to consider when choosing the right university. Then also one of the things you need to look at is research. There's some universities you may want to know if there is research also available at that particular institution, and what type, how do I get involved, and so on and so forth. Then selectivity is also very important. How selective is that university? If it is very selective, know what is the best way to get admitted to that particular university. Then support, and we know now, especially during COVID-19, how support is very needed, to not even financially, but also mentally and emotionally. So all universities have resources available to provide the mental, the financial support to all international students, because they are all, and we are really here a good example of that, and we can tell you how to navigate those resources. In the next slide as well, after knowing and getting familiarized with all the aspects that you need to consider when choosing the right university, there comes the right time for you to choose to start the application process. And in the next slide, Chris, there's definitely a list of things you need to consider when starting the admissions process. The first thing that we advise students to do is definitely get familiarized with the requirements, but the very first thing is get to know your admissions counselor. That's the first step. Tell me, I need to know who I will be talking to, who will be representative of my of that university. So get to know me. We are here very good 6 examples of admissions counselor that will be reviewing your application, will be deciding on your application. So get to know them so we can help you and tell you how to meet the deadlines, how to apply for scholarships, and so on and so forth. So the first step in the application process is filling out an online form. This online form for most universities is through a common application. Some universities have their own in-house application form. So fill it out, familiarize yourself whether you need an essay or personal statement, familiarize yourself whether you need standardized tests, what are the requirements for GPA, do I need letters of recommendation, do I need, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to stop here because tests, standardized tests, English proficiency tests, and all of that, very important information you need to know. And then I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Rashad.
All right. Thank you for being here with us again. My name is Rashad Howes, so with Missouri Western State University. So just as Juicy was kind of talking about as far as like our testing, we all know that obviously we're going through some crazy situation in the world. And as you can imagine, some of the testing has kind of changed as well. So one of the things you definitely want to take under consideration is some of the requirements for the SAT. As you know, it's a test that's really, really important in getting to college and universities in the United States. And so, in leading up to fall 2020, we had a bunch of testing centers that were closed. Students didn't have access to the SAT, the ACT, and some other standardized tests. So part of what I want to help you to develop as you're considering applying to possibly the 4,500 different colleges and universities in the United States is what questions to ask them related to the administration of the SAT test, or the ACT, as well as the English proficiency test. All right, so many colleges and universities have actually started to waive the SAT and other standardized tests like the ACT. So one of the things you want to kind of take under consideration is obviously you have a lot of flexibility right now. So many international students leading up to fall 2020 had to take the SAT. So now that many of those tests are deferred or they're waived, either temporarily or permanently, is potentially how was that going to affect the possibility of you getting like a scholarship or being admitted into that university. All right, so you want to definitely ask that university if you are looking for a scholarship, if you are considering admissions, what is that university's policy on these standardized tests, such as the ACT and the ACT, or the SAT and the ACT. All right, so definitely ask that question. It's going to be very, very important to you being able to make your plans and coming into the U.S., as well as like conditional admission, or whether or not those universities are accepting or offering conditional admission All right, so one of the other things that you have to kind of take under consideration as well is the administration of English proficiency tests. Many of you guys know that the TOEFL, the IELTS, they have now gone online. Those are tests that are used for English proficiency to prove that you have English proficiency. All right, so the scores obviously for the TOEFL and the IELTS can vary from university to university. So that's definitely one thing you want to take under consideration. Is seeing what those test scores are. The TOEFL and the IELTS, like I said, are now offered online, which is now these days pretty standard. However, there is another or third English proficiency test that you can take as well called Duolingo. Now, Duolingo is a bit different because of the fact that Duolingo is actually is only administered online. All right. So and this was even prior to, all the craziness with COVID-19 and different situations going on in the world. So there are some universities that are taking Duolingo. Many of my colleagues, as well as myself, our universities take Duolingo tests. But there are some other colleges and universities that do not take the Duolingo test and they pretty much just want the TOEFL and the IELTS. So as you are making your plans, make sure that you are asking these questions of your university representative, going to their websites, specifically for international students, so that you will be able to have a clear idea of what's going to be offered for you. So on the next slide, you can go to the next slide, please. We'll talk about, some of the other things that you have to take under consideration as well. Like obviously you have to graduate from high school. And so we want to understand like how is some of the limitations and maybe not being in class, not being in school, maybe taking courses online. How is that going to affect your college application process? So start asking these questions not only to your college admissions representative as you go through the process, but as well to your guidance counselor at your current high school, your principal, or teachers, whoever it is that is assisting you with getting your college things together and things like that. You want to make sure that you are asking them those questions too. Many universities and colleges are accepting digital or scanned copies of like your high school diplomas or either your alternative documents such as like your transcripts, your proof of graduation, any of your predicted grades as well. So those are some things that you want to get some good answers to. How is it that you're going to be able to get these documents to these schools that are extremely important, that show all of your accolades, your successes in your classes? How is that transmitted to the institution? All right, so very, very good questions to ask. You also want to ask about the actual application itself. Many of you know you have the Common App that is pretty standard in the US. We also have some universities have their own application that's located on their websites and nowhere else. So you want to kind of take a look at that process and which one. Some universities have both. They're both on the Common App as well as having their own application. So kind of evaluate exactly which of those is going to be most advantageous to you. All right. As far as deadlines are concerned, many of you know, you have generally deadlines. Some schools offer early decision, early action, regular decision. What do those deadlines look like? If you're looking at going to a school that it offers rolling admissions, which schools are those? Which of your the colleges that you are looking to apply to have rolling admissions? What does rolling admissions mean? And things like that. So you want to ask specifically those questions to your college representative, scour the websites, things like that. So you also want to take a look at your enrollment deposits. Like once you've actually applied to the school, you've been selected, you've been accepted, your scholarship is all in order and you can pay for it, things like that. Generally, the first thing that you want to do to confirm that decision that you want to attend that college or university is your enrollment deposit. That's a fee that you have to pay to the college so that you will hold your seat in that course or in that university. All right. and that just holds your seat, like I said. And then you also have like your deferments. So say you get accepted to fall 2021, some crazy things happen either personally or in the world, whatever it is, you have to defer your application. What does that process look like? Can you send your admissions counselor an email directly? Do you have to fill out an online form? You have to print something out, scan it, sign it, and send it back. What does that process look like as well? Best to get all of this information as soon as you can. Make your list, take your notes, and be able to get some solid information and have a plan. All right, so with that, I think we're gonna go to my next colleague, and we'll talk about some other parts of our presentation. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, Rashad. Hey, everybody, this is Bobby from Embry-Riddle. Very nice to see you, and thank you so much for joining us. So I'm going to actually talk to you about test optional. So what does test optional or test flexible actually mean? So test optional means that it is optional for you to submit the SAT or ACT or some other standardized tests. So some institutions still require them maybe for scholarship consideration, but they do not require it for admissions. So right now during the pandemic, it's a little bit difficult for you to potentially have access to these standardized tests. So a lot of institutions have moved to a test optional admissions. So test flexible, test flexible means that they potentially would accept different types of tests, maybe instead of the SAT or ACT, something that actually is accessible to you in your home country. Is your application still competitive without test scores? The answer is yes, it definitely is. So how can you demonstrate your academic qualities without these test scores? It could be extracurricular activities, it could be competitions, maybe you won an award, and your academic profile from your high school. So how did you do in key areas? Did you take some sort of advanced placement classes or honors classes? These all can be attributed to your academic profile and make you more competitive for the admissions. So is admissions more competitive without test scores? So a lot of times if test scores are optional or if they're not required, you may need to put a little bit more merit into your academic profile. So your high school grades potentially would need to be a little bit higher of a GPA, but it kind of depends. So it all goes back to make sure that you are speaking with your academic counselor, so your admissions counselors like us and many more, to just determine what they're actually looking for, if they're looking at you more holistically, or if they're looking at you specifically at your academics. So do they want to see those letters of recommendation? Do they want to see that personal statement or that personal essay? Will that help your academic profile be a little bit more elevated? So moving on to the next slide. All right, and then moving into applying to universities. So a quick tip is apply broadly. So if you're applying to a reach school, so one of those schools that maybe is Ivy League, Harvard, Yale, UC Berkeley, also apply to other schools that meet your competitive academic profile. So just because they're highly ranked doesn't mean that they might be the best fit for you. So just make sure that you are doing your research in terms of the institution, what they're able to offer you. You're going to be there for 4 years. So you want to make sure that it's an institution that fits with you as much as you fit with it. So like UC was talking about, geographic location, different types of course offerings, whatever that may be. So as you can see, why? Financial aid and scholarship competitiveness. So maybe you are eligible for a higher scholarship at a different institution that you might be a better fit for versus, the top ranked engineering school that might not be able to provide you with those super high scholarships. So unpredictable holistic review. So each university is different. We have about 4,200 universities in the United States. Everybody's going to look at you a little bit differently. All the admissions requirements could be different. They might require specific things that other institutions do not, which comes in with the test optional. So it just kind of depends on what the admissions counselors are actually looking for and what the university requires. Having a backup plan when first choice does not work out. So avoid having to rely on a wait list. So make sure that when you do apply, you apply to multiple universities. However, limit your number of applications. So just making sure that maybe you have a really good school, and then 3 or 4 other backups. You should always have what's called a safety school. So it's still a school that meets your needs that you would want to go to and study at. However, you do pretty much meet their academic requirements. So that is something that you have maybe in your back pocket. So then when you are still going for the admissions to these other institutions that maybe you really wanted to go to, but maybe you're on a wait list, you still have somewhere to go. So just making sure, so you apply broadly. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket, and make sure that you're doing your research on different types of institutions that are the best fit for you. So moving on to the next slide, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bobby, for that great information. Hello again, everybody. My name is Scott McClama. I'm going to talk a little bit about scholarships right now. We've identified some of the more common types of scholarships that you find at colleges and universities in the United States. So I'm just going to kind of go through this briefly and define these terms because these are things that you would see commonly on websites for institutions. And so it's good to know what these things mean. The first one that we have here are merit-based scholarships. So these are the most common type of scholarships that would be available for international students. Merit-based scholarships are scholarships that are awarded based on academic merit. So these scholarships are going to take into account your grades that you've earned in school. They may take into account standardized tests if you submit those. So it's one thing that's important to know is, we've talked a little briefly about institutions that have gone to being test optional, especially during COVID-19. So it's important to know that, if an institution has gone test optional for admission, they may still require a standardized test to qualify for a merit-based scholarship. Some institutions have gone test optional for the scholarships as well, but that's an important distinction to make, and you can't just assume that that just because an institution is test optional for admission, that they're test optional for scholarships. So that's one thing that you're going to want to clarify. Either find it on the institution's website or talk to the admissions representative. Next, we have need-based scholarships. These are scholarships that are based on the financial need of the applicant. So these usually require an extra application or at least a submission of financial documents to demonstrate what your financial need is. And then the institution offers their scholarship amount based on that. Country and regional scholarships are scholarships that are given to students from a particular country or region of the world. Oftentimes this is set up by an alum of the university or a donor to the university that is from that country or that region because they have a particular interest in growing that student population on the campus. So this may be something that you would want to look into. Government-funded scholarships are scholarships that are funded by the government of the country where the student is coming from. Sometimes these have certain stipulations that go along with them, like they're only available for certain majors. Privately funded scholarships are scholarships that are funded by organizations outside of the university. So these are third-party organizations that are not affiliated with any particular university necessarily, and any student applying to whatever university can have access to these. So these might not find on a university's website because they're not part of the university's scholarship program. But it is something you can ask admissions representatives about because we have generally a good idea of the types of privately funded scholarships that are out there. Diversity scholarships are similar to country and regional scholarships, but more broadly speaking, they are for the purpose of increasing diversity within the student body. And so this often includes international students. So there are some institutions that have scholarships that are given to any international student that is admitted to the university. Athletic scholarships are given out to students that excel in a particular sport. So there are 3 levels of athletics at universities in the United States, and they're called Divisions 1, 2, and 3. Divisions 1 and 2 offer scholarships, and Divisions 3 do not. And so these are for, again, students that excel at a particular sport. Most often they are recruited by the athletic department. Finally, departmental scholarships are scholarships that are awarded by a specific academic department at the university. These usually go to current students and not new incoming students. And it's for based on work that they have done within their major. So it's good to know that, even if you are a current student, you're able to earn more scholarship money than when you originally came to the university. So a good question to be asking the different universities is, how is COVID-19 impacting scholarships? And this can vary from university to university. It's good to know if the same amounts are available to you, or if they've decreased. Perhaps institutions may have increased those amounts. It's also good to know if you choose to defer because of COVID-19, because a university is closed down because of COVID-19, if you will be able to take your scholarship with you to the next semester that you are deferring to. We can move on to the next slide. Good. So here we have some questions to kind of ask yourself about, why do I deserve a scholarship? The first thing to notice, as you see, there's full scholarships are competitive. They're competitive and they're rare. It's very rare for an institution to offer a full, we call it a full ride scholarship to for international students. So you can certainly ask that question, but don't be expecting that most institutions that you ask that of will have those opportunities. But earning scholarships in general, some things that you're going to want to ask yourself about, why should I deserve a scholarship? And so these are good things, for those of you maybe that are sophomores or juniors in high school, things to maybe work on and work on demonstrating to universities. You need to be able to show that you are a well-rounded student. Universities in the United States, most of them, you're going to learn and take courses in a number of different subjects. Yes, you will have a major, and that will be your focus, and that's what your degree will be in. But most universities have general education courses that you're also going to need to take. And so it's important to us as admissions representatives, admissions officers to be able to assess whether this student is going to be able to learn a variety of different subjects. So being well-rounded is important. Being academically competitive, this may be, the most important. As I mentioned, the most common scholarships available for international students are merit-based. So being academically competitive is really the only way to have access to these scholarships. I have distinctions, awards, and accolades. So certainly something that you can show, a way that you can demonstrate your academic competitiveness, your academic prowess within your high school, is being able to show that you have earned awards for your academics or other things that you have done as well. So these could be awards or accolades for extracurricular activities. So this is another way that just shows that you're able to excel in something. Usually if you've earned an award for something, it means that you have been committed to it. And so that's what we're looking for. I have leadership qualities. Most universities really stress leadership within their students. And so if you have been able to demonstrate that at the high school level, that is certainly a positive. And finally, I have a commitment to serve. So my institution and other institutions have a very big focus on service. And so that's something that you will most likely be involved with as a college student, is some type of service to the community where your university is located. And also maybe for your study abroad program, there may be an element of service in that as well. So we want to see that students have had that commitment before they come to our campus also. So those are just a few things about scholarships. And right now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Liz, who's going to talk a little bit about the visa process.
Hi everyone, again, I'm Elizabeth. I'm going to transition us into the next segment talking about what your steps are after you've been accepted to a US college or university. So that next step, of course, is getting the student visa in order to come to the US and start your program of study. So the first step before you can even apply for the student visa is, of course, to get admission to a US college or university. You can apply to as many colleges and universities as you would like to, and hopefully you receive admission to at least one institution or maybe several institutions. And each school is going to send you an immigration document that you will need to apply for the student visa. So most students coming to the US are coming for a degree seeking program as an F1 student visa holder. And in those cases, they're receiving an I-20 that they'll use to apply for that F1 student visa. In other cases, some students may be coming on a short-term or sponsored exchange program. And so those students would be coming and applying for a J1 student visa and would be using that immigration document you see here called a DS-2019. So the school that you're applying to, of course, will help you determine which immigration document to send you and provide instructions about the process for applying for the F1 or J1 student visa. But once you receive admission and start getting those immigration documents from your colleges and universities, that's when you can go ahead and schedule your visa appointment interview. So it is an in-person interview that you will have to attend in most cases at a US embassy or consulate. And you can actually schedule your visa interview online. But when you are going to schedule your appointment, this is that time that you have to decide which college or university you will attend, because you can only apply for the student visa for one institution. So you do need to make that final decision, especially if you've been accepted to multiple schools. So once you've made that decision and you have scheduled the visa interview and you have an interview date, that's when you can go ahead and start preparing the documents you need for your visa appointment. So of course, that's going to include the immigration document, whether that's the I-20 or DS-2019. You'll also need to bring with you the admission letter from your school showing you've been accepted to that university or college and your program information. And then you'll also need to bring with you financial documentation. And this financial documentation should be information you've already given to the college or university, showing how you plan to pay for your education for the first year of expenses. So that would be the first year of tuition and living expenses. So you'll bring with you either the bank statement or bank letter or scholarship award letter, or if you're using student loan funding from a bank or another financial institution, you would bring that financial documentation with you as well. And then of course, you'll need to bring with you some of your academic documents. That would include your transcripts and any of your test results, such as the TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo English proficiency scores, or any SAT or ACT that you may have taken. So once you have your appointment and all of your documents ready, you can go ahead and attend your visa interview on the scheduled date and hopefully have a successful interview. Most visa appointments last for 5 minutes or less, so it's not a very long in-person interview. And in most cases, the consular officers will ask you questions about why you're choosing to study in the United States, why you are choosing to study at that specific university or college, and what you plan to do with your major when you graduate. So they want to make sure that you have a clear plan after your academic program to leave the US and return to your home country. So it's a good idea to think through some of the answers to those questions about what are your academic goals in the United States and how will this prepare you for your career back home when you finish your program. We do have a couple websites highlighted here that you can use as helpful resources. The first is the ICE guidance on COVID-19. So of course, with the COVID-19 situation going on, US embassies and consulates were temporarily closed for visa appointment processing. I know in Japan, the US embassies and consulates are currently open for visa appointments, but it's a really good idea to check for any updates that might happen before you go for your appointment, just to be on the safe side, since information can change on a quick basis these days with COVID-19. So you can check on that ICE guidance website. And then of course, you can also go directly to the US Department of State website to check visa appointment wait times. And that's also where you will schedule your visa appointment interview as well. So something to keep in mind as far as the timeline as you're thinking about coming to the United States, students can actually apply for the student visa 120 days before the start of your program, and you can enter the United States 30 days before your semester or your program starts. So just a few things to keep in mind. With that, I will transition to the next slide. And I just want to talk briefly about what institutions in the United States are doing to provide COVID-19 resources and opportunities you have as international students when you do come to the United States and choose to study here. So of course, when international students come to the United States, they're required to purchase mandatory health insurance. Typically, the college or the university will provide a health insurance plan or maybe several health insurance plans that you can choose from. And then you will have to purchase that pretty much as soon as you arrive to the United States. The reason for this, of course, is healthcare in the United States is very expensive, and we want to make sure that you have enough health insurance coverage for any medical situation that might come up, just to be on the safe side. And of course, health insurance also covers anything related to COVID-19 testing or any medications that you might need to take, and of course, is just a good thing to have overall. And then our universities and colleges also have on-campus health and wellness services. Most campuses have a clinic located directly on campus or very close to campus, as well as a pharmacy where you could pick up prescription medications or just standard medications that you might need at any time. So that's available to you as well. And then on-campus and community testing centers are also available around university and college campuses specifically for COVID-19. Many universities and colleges have actually been community testing center sites that are set up to accommodate students as well as other members from the community who might be living in that area, so that there's direct access to quick, safe, and effective COVID-19 testing to keep all of our staff and faculty and students safe. And then of course, universities and colleges are doing a very good job communicating COVID-19 resources and safety to their students and staff and faculty through emails and text messages and social media. So you can get real-time information and stay up to date on everything that may be going on at the university campuses. So all universities in the United States and colleges are making this conscious effort to keep their students and faculty safe. We take this very seriously. But if you do have any questions or concerns about what this could look like for you and your specific situation, please do reach out to the international student offices for any guidance on travel to the United States, and especially regulations for the student visa for entering the United States, and making sure that you meet the visa regulations once you are on campus studying at that college or university. as you will need to make sure that you're enrolled in a specific number of classes each semester, each term. But all those resources are available to you. The universities will communicate this information to you, and you always have those resources to reach out to if you need further information or have questions. So with that, I'll transition us to our next segment, where myself and my colleagues will be talking about each of our institutions around the United States. So we can go to the next slide. So again, we represent a very diverse group of institutions across the United States, ranging from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I represent Minnesota State University, Mankato, which is a public university located in the north central part of the United States. We're a mid-sized institution enrolling about 14,000 students. And we have almost 8% of our student population is international. So we have international students representing more than 90 countries, of course, including students from Japan. And as far as our admission requirements for undergraduate programs, we are test optional for students, meaning we don't require the SAT or ACT. We will base your admission off of your academic transcripts, as well as your TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo test scores for English proficiency. As far as our cost of attendance, we're relatively affordable, being a public university in the Midwest of the United States. Our average cost of attendance is around $25,000 US per year. And we do offer a guaranteed undergraduate scholarship called our International Maverick Scholarship, which is available for students. So if you're interested in further information about Minnesota State Mankato, feel free to reach out to me. With that, I'm going to give it over to my colleague.
All right, thank you, Liz. Hello again, everyone. Like I said, my name is Bobby Brannigan. I'm the Associate Director for International Admissions for Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Daytona Beach campus. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Embry-Riddle. So Embry-Riddle was established in 1926, the world's oldest, largest, fully accredited institution focusing on aerospace and aviation. Our campuses are located in Florida and Arizona, as well as Singapore. So we do have a small campus in Singapore that offers bachelor degrees and master degrees. We also have a worldwide online campus, so you do have access to your education almost anywhere. Our institution does focus on STEM programs. We're well known for our engineering majors, including our aerospace engineering program, as well as civil engineering, electrical and computer engineering, mechanical engineering. So we have a lot of engineering programs. We do offer aeronautical science, which is our professional pilot program. We have over 100 instructional aircraft on our residential campuses, as well as over 150 flight instructors, and we have 25 technicians on either campus that are performing support and maintenance in our hangar. Many programs are housed in the first of its kind College of Securities and Intelligence, and we do have business programs as well. So overall, we have over 80 different programs from the associate level, which is the 2-year degree program, to bachelor degrees, up to master's and PhD level. Our student faculty ratio is about 25:1. So the small class sizes allow you to engage in that practical knowledge and get the support from your faculty. We have over 100 labs and facilities, which include such things as our ethical hacking lab, housed in our global security and intelligence, aircraft simulators, spaceflight operations, and even games and simulation. We do have over 300 different clubs and organizations on our campus. So anything you're interested in, we pretty much have something for you. We do have students from all 50 states and over 148 different countries. We offer partial merit-based scholarships. Those are based on the SAT or ACT as of now, and your high school GPA, but we are working with our financial aid department, moving on to the next academic year to try to determine how we're able to provide those merit-based scholarships to students without the SAT or ACT. We do have athletic scholarships through our NCAA Division II athletics. We do not require SAT for admissions, so we are test optional. And I think that that's about it. So thank you so much, and I will pass over to my colleague.
All right, so thanks for being here with us again, everyone. My name is Rashad Howes again with Missouri Western State University. We are in the Kansas City area, which that is about right in the middle of the United States. Pretty close to Missouri Western is also a lot of opportunities for students to study different majors. We have about 100 majors and areas of study at Missouri Western. We also have some top undergraduate majors, which is business, engineering, technology, biology, computer science, nursing, and sports management as well. We're very affordable for a U.S. college. We do have 2 scholarships for students. We have our automatic scholarship, which goes up to $4,000 per year, as well as we have a full ride scholarship, and that takes care of all of the costs for your 4-year college time that you'll be at Missouri Western. One thing of note is that the SAT is not required for admissions nor for scholarship, and our full tuition scholarship and full ride scholarship, I should say, pays for our total cost, which is $26,180. That pays for your tuition, your housing, your meals, your health insurance, and books. So if you want to get more information, you will see all of our contact information on our subsequent slides, and I'll pass it to my next colleague.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yusuf, International Admissions Counselor from Stony Brook University. That's our name. It's Stony Brook University. We're also known as SUNY Stony Brook or SBU. We belong to the system called State University of New York as one of the public universities located outside the city of New York State. We are a large research comprehensive institution located in the beautiful Long Island, and that's the map that you can see on the bottom of the corner of the slide. We are surrounded by a lot of beaches. It's a beautiful area, very welcoming campus, a home of more than 26,000 students and more than 4,600 international students. We do have a lot of students from Japan, and you are more welcome to be part of that community as well. We have a pretty workable campus. We have a train station on campus, and if you want to go to the city, you want to go to JFK Airport or anywhere, we're only 60 miles away from Manhattan and Times Square. That's 100 kilometers. That also means a little bit more than an hour away from the city. At Stony Brook University, you can choose from more than 200 majors, minors, and combined degrees, from business management to health science, music, mathematics, engineering, pretty much every engineering program we have it for you there, and medical programs. You can participate in our robust undergraduate research program with nearly 2,000 students per year actually get engaged in these programs. What does that mean? When students graduate from Stony Brook University, it's not only a degree, it's a degree plus a publication, and the research will be attached to their name. We create excuse me, the engineering programs that we offer at Stony Brook University, they're A-BIT accredited programs. You get 100% engineering, but it's not only engineering that we are very good at, or that we specialize at. Pretty much anything you're looking for, we have it. You can join one of our 400 student clubs, more than 400 student clubs. You can immerse yourself in hands-on study at School of Marine, for example, atmospheric sciences, featuring class moors literally on the water, on the vessel. We have a semester in the sea program. We do a lot of research and very interesting things. When applying to Stony Brook University, there are basically 3 steps. The first step is applying online, sending us your online application. The second one is sending us your English proficiency test, either to Duolingo. 105 is the minimum score. TOEFL is 80. The IELTS is 6.5. We do also accept the SAT, but we are test optional, so you don't really have to apply with the SAT. Scholarships are available at Stony Brook University for international students. We have the merit-based scholarship, we have the need-based scholarship, and you are welcome here scholarship that offers 50% of the tuition fees covered. This is a very short overview of Stony Brook University. I want to hand it over to my colleague.
Great, thank you, Yusuf. Hello again, everyone. Once again, my name is Scott McClama. I'm the International Recruitment Manager at Pepperdine University, which is located in Malibu, California. Malibu, if you're unfamiliar with the geography, is part of the Los Angeles area. It's considered part of the greater Los Angeles area. It's in Los Angeles County, about 30 to 40 minutes outside of the city of LA, home to the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers as of last night. So we're very excited about that over here. But Pepperdine, as you can see, not located right in the city of LA. It's in a very beautiful location right on the coast. We have the Pacific Ocean right in our front yard. And then right behind the university is the Santa Monica Mountains, which is part of the National Park Service, and with lots of hiking and biking trails. So it's a great location for anyone that loves the outdoors and loves to spend time in the outdoors, which the weather in Southern California is very conducive to that, usually pretty mild and sunny. Pepperdine, of all the six universities today, is the smallest. We have around 3,500 students at the undergraduate level. We are a private Christian liberal arts university that offers 44 different majors, a variety of different things from the arts and sciences to social sciences. Being a smaller university and having a low student to faculty ratio, our students really get to know their professors, which is great for building those personal relationships, and not only academically, but also professionally, and helps our students get connected really well with internships and jobs, oftentimes in Los Angeles and in the industries that are based in Los Angeles. As you see on the slide, you can see our 5 most popular majors. I'll also mention our screen arts major, which is our film major, which is one of our fastest growing majors at the university. As you can imagine, being in Southern California is a great place to study film with so many Hollywood studios located nearby. And we have many students that go on to do internships and work at these studios and do really great things. So that's just a little brief overview of Pepperdine. I will talk about our admission steps. So we are on the Common application. If you're not familiar with that, you can check it out at commonapp.org. There's over 800 institutions in the United States that use the Common application. In addition to submitting the Common application along with the essay, we require your high school transcripts, 1 letter of recommendation. We have gone to being test optional for 2021 for international students. This was in response to COVID-19. We were already test flexible for international students, but we've gone fully test optional for 2021. We do still require, however, English language proficiency, proof of English language proficiency, and we accept Duolingo for that, in addition to TOEFL, IELTS, and a few other ways that could be demonstrated. We do offer merit-based scholarships that can cover up to 40% of the total cost of the university. And so that's just a little bit about Pepperdine. We're going to go a little bit further down the coast to Orange County, California, and leave it with my colleague, Chris.
All right, thank you, Scott. So again, everyone, my name is Christopher Toribio, and I represent Orange Coast College, which is a 2-year community college in Costa Mesa, California. Costa Mesa is located in Orange County, which is the county between Los Angeles and San Diego. Costa Mesa is close by Disneyland Resort, about 15 minutes away, and we're coastal, so we're about 5 minutes from Newport and Huntington Beach. Orange Coast College is one of the largest community colleges in California. We host 22,000 students, and actually Japan is our 2nd largest group of international students. We host a little bit more than 200 students from Japan at OCC. And for many different reasons. For many of our students from Japan, many of them are looking to transfer to a 4-year university. And as a community college within the California community college system, we do have preferred and guaranteed transfer admission to the University of California and California State. However, our students would have transferred to nearly 115 universities last year. So there is that flexibility. We do have a wide range of programs. We offer more than 130 different programs. Some of our most popular would be architecture, marine science, also our airline and travel careers. We do have an aviation pilot training program. And for many students who are in that program and they want to transfer to a four-year university, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University is actually a popular university for many of our students. One unique aspect about OCC, actually two unique aspects of OCC. One, we have an intensive English language program. Our intensive language program is actually located on our campus at OCC. Well, right now it's virtual because of COVID-19. And actually our language school is actually owned by a language school in Japan. So there's campuses both in Tokyo and Osaka. So for any student that wants to do intensive English and come to OCC later, we have those campuses in those two cities. Again, for a long time, we've had a lot of students from Japan coming to our institution. I really just wanted to highlight my students here. And many of our international students do have YouTube videos. In fact, I wanted to highlight this one right here. It's Shino and Masashi. They were featured in the popular study abroad channel Bilingual Chica, talking about their transfer and how they went through the transfer process to transfer to UCLA. Overall, their videos have more than 1 million views. I've been to Japan. They know about OCC because of these two students. So I do encourage you, just type in OCC or Orange Coast College, in the search engine in your language in Japanese, and you'll find a lot of content from our students, including Aoi, who's a dance student who transferred to UC Irvine on that guaranteed transfer admissions program. But again, so many different opportunities at OCC. And one more fun fact, we're the only community college in Southern California with on-campus student housing. And despite the fact that we do have COVID-19 going on and our classes are virtual, our on-campus student housing is still open for our students, including our international students. If COVID-19 continues to persist, we do have classes that are scheduled in your time zone in Asia. And that's through OCC World Class. It's a very convenient way for students to have classes, take classes, but also in a convenient time zone. To learn more about Orange Coast College, go ahead and follow us at our Instagram account at OCC Internationals. We post our latest updates and also live events for our international students. So thank you so much for listening to today's presentation. And we're going to go and move ahead to the question and answer portion. And again, please go ahead and screenshot this if you like any of our contact. So please feel free to email us anytime and engage with us as much as you can. Thank you so much. I think we're going to go ahead and moderate the chat.
All right, so we have several questions that came in through the chat feature here, and we also had some pre-submitted questions as well. So I'm actually going to start with a question about deadlines. So a student had a question asking, what is the difference between early deadline and regular deadline? Scott, would you like to take this one? Sorry.
It's all right. As a mid-sim. Yeah, so the difference between an early deadline and regular deadline, it kind of depends, and this is something you're going to need to clarify with the institution because there are basically two types of an early deadline. There's early decision and there's early action. So and they're different things. And so early action is just means that you can submit your application early and you will receive your admissions decision early. So at Pepperdine, we have an early action deadline of November 1st. And then you will receive your decision before January, whereas our regular deadline is January 15th, and you receive your decision before April. So all that means is you submit your application early. By the early deadline, you receive an early admissions decision. Now, early decision is something that our institution doesn't do, but there are a lot of institutions that that have an early decision. So if you submit your application early by the early decision deadline, you are in a sense saying that you are committing to enroll at this institution, at this early decision institution, if you are admitted. So it is advised to only apply to one university early decision. This is not for the majority of students that are applying. Early decision is for students that really feel very strongly about one particular institution and are very committed to a particular institution. So the policy is if you are admitted to early decision, that you are committed to enrolling in that institution. All right, and then I'll read the next question. How do I apply for certificate program for 2 years, 2-year college if I don't have a TOEFL score? So Chris, you want to take this one?
Yes, so yes, community colleges do have career technical certificate programs, really focusing on students wanting to get into certain careers right after their 2-year degree. So for students who don't have a TOEFL test, we do accept other English proficiency tests. So we do accept the IELTS, the Duolingo. Another popular in Japan that many of our students do submit is the STEP Aiken. So we do take that exam. But if you don't want to take an English proficiency exam, that's perfectly fine. Many of our students from Japan come to us through intensive English language programs, and we do offer conditional acceptance. We have roughly about 15 language schools that we do have a conditional acceptance agreement with, including our intensive English language program, IEC at OCC, which is located on our campus, and also those 2 schools in Japan as well, which I can provide you more information. But yes, that's typically how it works. You can come to OCC, but your pathway might be just different, just depending on the level of English proficiency and whatever you're most comfortable with. But ultimately, yes, the the certificate program, we offer roughly about 100 certificate programs at our school. And just let me know what you're interested in. I'll be happy to provide you more information in depth about that program. Okay. I actually can't see the chat, guys, so if somebody can go ahead and read the next question, that'll be great.
So the next question that,
sorry,
go ahead. All right, so the next question that we see here is what kind of, yes, this is student who hold the M1 visa, flight school issued currently. Is the student eligible to apply for an F1 visa to enroll at an university? Liz, can you please?
You see, I think that she's having some technical difficulties, so I think somebody else can take that question.
Oh,
sweet.
So I think this one might be about change of status. If Liz can.
I'm sorry, is it the question about M1 visa?
Yeah, so it's
okay.
Quite related.
Yeah, so students, so I can actually kind of take that one too. So the same thing that Chris was saying, it is a change of status. So the easiest way to change from an M visa to an F visa is to leave the United States and then apply for the F visa and then to return to the United States on that F visa. You are able to do it here in the United States. However, it could be costly and it could take a little bit of time. So in an effort to keep, your I-20 status, you would probably, easiest way is to leave the US and then apply for your F1 visa and then return to the US. So Liz, if you have anything to add, if your screen came back up, it was a question. Students who hold M1 visa, like flight school issued currently, is a student eligible to apply for F1 visa to enroll at a university?
Sure. I think you answered it pretty clearly, but you would have to go through a change of status because, like you said, the M1 visa is for technical training. So typically you would just be coming for the FAA certification, and most flight training centers are CVIS certified just to issue that M1 visa. So if you do want to change to a university degree program, you would just go through a change of status from M1 to F1, but you would need to be admitted to that degree program before you could apply for a change of status. All right, so next question then. I don't think we answered this one yet. What kind of club activities are popular among international students? And how are students enjoying the extracurricular activities under the pandemic? That's a great question. Rashad, would you like to answer this one?
Yeah, sure. In all honesty, there are tons of different international club activities that students are generally going into. These might be from this might be a student club organization that is specifically for students that are coming from Japan or other parts of Asia. That might be religious. That might be social. You know, just like fraternities, sororities, things like that. It may be just like a common shared interest. Like we have a group at our university called the Coffee Club. I have no idea what they do, but you know, they have an interest in coffee, and it's something that they they kind of get together and talk about, you know, things like that. So there's literally you know, a lot of different options for you. Now, the other thing too is that at most of our universities, we have like a global center or an international center, and this is a place where all international students can come to participate in student services in some of these groups to be able to get connected to these groups. Generally, it's led by someone who has a lot of years within the international experience and education. Sometimes it also, like at the college that I represent, it also houses all the other areas of international services like admissions, recruiting, student services, your visa situation, things like that. As far as how students are enjoying their extracurricular activities, again, it could be very different from university to university. At my specific university, we are still hosting some events, but that is due in part to the fact that we have, you know, kind of a low COVID kind of impact, and I think we only have one active case at our institution right now. So we are able to hold some in-person events, but many times you're hearing about a lot of online events as well, like through Zoom and other platforms, things like that. So it's definitely a great question. One of the good things about coming to university is that we have a lot of these types of services and ways for international students to engage so that you are not, you know, far from home and isolated, things like that. And so you have a lot of these different opportunities to get involved, which generally help students to stay happy, engaged, and in school. So, so there you go.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
I'm actually a club advisor, so I do. I'm an advisor for the OCC Paddleboard Club. So we do meet once a week online. So they've been paddleboarding on their own, though I haven't been going out there. However, yeah, international students have been very resilient to keep in contact and also to keep their clubs together. And many of that has moved virtual. Many students communicate also through social media. Our student government as well has moved to virtual. So there are many types of extracurricular activities that you can still do. A lot of students have moved on to doing vlogs and posts and things like that. So definitely something that you can still do at a community, at a university during the pandemic. To be honest, there are students that still meet, even though they're not supposed to. So keep that in mind as well. But they've been very resilient, as you know, a big part of your college experience is social, and we still want to facilitate that in the most safest, but also the most engaging way possible. Okay. Okay. Oh, next question. Okay. As for letter recommendation by school counselor, basically senior high school does not have the system of school counseling. Rather classroom teacher shall look after academic career. To whom students shall ask for a letter recommendation by school counselor? Does anybody would like to take that? Actually, really good question. Actually, Scott.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. I think
Yeah.
I may be the only institution that requires it for admission. That requires a letter of recommendation. So yeah, we accept it from both school counselors and teachers. So you can certainly have any teacher of for Pepperdine, any teacher of what we consider a core academic subject. So not an elective course like music or art, but an academic subject. can submit your letter of recommendation. So it doesn't have to be a school counselor. So that's important. I know a lot of schools don't have a school counselor role, don't have someone in that role, but it can be a teacher. All right, unless anyone else wants to jump in on that, I will go ahead move on to the next question. About common application, how does the admission officer consider the student whose number of activities are 5 or 6 and one whose number is 10? Yusuf, do you want to take this one? So comparing numbers of extracurricular activities.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. So we are a common application institution. So we do advise students to put as many as they could when it comes to the section where students would list like the activities. The difference between someone is listing 5 or 6 compared to the other one who's listing more definitely does not affect the student's eligibility to either whether it's for a scholarship or whether it's for we do care more about the type of the activity. So getting involved in campus either through 1 or 2 is enough. Having too many, it's not something that will disqualify the other one who took less. Definitely because we know that the student who took probably less is more engaged and more focusing on his academics. So basically, when we're looking at this section particularly, so we do have a scholarship called the You Are Welcome Here scholarship. We do select students that demonstrate leadership skills and we do go back to the common application and look at the activities that students got involved in and see whether these activities are leadership related and that students got involved and active and so on and so forth. So again, so to answer your question, definitely we do a holistic, so activities are never always one thing that we'll look at. We don't look at you as just we look at you as a person and we look at all aspects of you as an applicant, but definitely that's not a big problem if you mention less. Thank you for that question. The next question, unless someone has something to add, the next question, currently in Japan, we can take TOEFL, IELTS, and even SAT right now. Though you guys say test is optional, should student need to submit test score? I know my colleague Bobby touched base on this during the presentation, but Liz would like to answer that question. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, I can add to that question as well. So typically, just to clarify with test optional, what we mean by that is related to the SAT or in some cases the ACT. So the academic standardized test would be optional for you to apply to the university. As far as the TOEFL and the IELTS, that typically is still going to be required for proof of English proficiency. So the English proficiency test would not be test optional unless the university accepts some alternative English proficiency measure. But as far as the test optional, if you have taken the SAT or are still planning to take the SAT, and you're applying to a test optional college or university, it's completely up to you if you want to submit that score as part of your application if they say that they are test optional. And we would recommend that if you do take the test and you have a good SAT score, go ahead and submit it. It's not going to hurt your application at all to have that extra information. But if you take it and you don't have a great score, you're not happy about it, and it's test optional, don't submit it. The university has alternative measures they're using to evaluate your application. And so it's going to be more weighted on your academic transcripts from your high school or if you're transferring from a college or university. So that's what we mean by the test optional, is just related to that SAT. And so I would also reach out to the admissions counselor from the college or university you're applying to find out if there's any additional benefits to submitting an SAT score. If they are a test optional institution. In some cases, it could help you with additional scholarship applications to qualify for more scholarship funding. And also at some institutions, such as my university at Minnesota State, it actually can help with advanced placement into your general education classes for math and English if you have a high enough math and English score on the SAT. but we are test optional. So if you don't provide that, that's okay. So with that, I'm going to go on to our next question. Among us 6 colleges which accept Duolingo English test, or do we accept Duolingo English test as English proficiency? Struggling here. Chris, do you want to take this one?
Oh, I was going to hand it to Rashad.
Oh, go ahead.
If not, he might be. Okay, well.
I think we could all just answer if we,
yeah.
Let's
do.
just raise up our hand. Maybe we all do, basically.
I think we all accept Duolingo.
Pepperdine does. Duolingo. UC, you accept Duolingo, right?
Yeah, we all do. 105 minimum score.
And since you attended today's presentation, we have your contact information. We'll send you a free code to take the Duolingo test for free. So just make sure to look out for our email. We'll send you the code. It expires in December, but if you plan to take it afterwards, we'll contact Duolingo to get you an updated code. But yeah, thank you for coming. You get to take it for free, save some money. And you can send it to any university that you're applying to that accepts it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Okay, next question. If I wanted to transfer to UCLA, for example, would there be any differences or difficulties between going to community colleges near LA and community college in Sacramento? Okay, so I think I can read this question in many different ways. So the California community colleges, including ourselves, we have 115 colleges and universities. They all transfer students to the University of California system, UCLA specifically. So all of our classes and all of the courses that you'll take are basically mirroring the same classes you'll take at UCLA. So they will automatically transfer regardless what community college you go to. Now, LA and Sacramento are very far apart. So my recommendation really is to choose one community college. You can do what's called concurrent enrollment, meaning that you can enroll in multiple community colleges in California at the same time. But oftentimes that can be a little bit complicated, especially when you're submitting your UC application. And I'm speaking from this because I used to work for UC. So my recommendation, if you are looking for a community college in California, there's no preference in terms of what UC looks for. They're not going to consider one student from a community college over another. My thing that I would look for if you're looking for a community college that is one that has really good support for international students, that has the support that you really need to succeed. Things like intensive English language program, a dedicated center for international students, housing opportunities, and also majors, as we also do offer different majors at our colleges. But in terms of, if your question is based on priority between which community colleges has a preference to UCLA or the University of California system, there's no preference at all. If anybody tells you that, then that's absolutely not true. I'm actually going to go ahead and type in a website that you can look at. It's called assist.org. Assist.org is the statewide transfer articulation website, which you can see what classes from the California community colleges will transfer, and is the transfer requirements to all majors at UC and Cal State. Okay, so thank you so much. And
great.
Okay.
I know Chris can't see the questions, but there is a question says, currently U.S. universities provide classes online or on campus under COVID-19. Happy if you let us know situation by each region. So I'm going to start. I'm going to also hand it over to my colleagues so they can share updates about the current situation, whether of their online format and also the situation of COVID. So basically at Stony Brook University, we started the hybrid in a hybrid format back in August 24. So most of the classes are online. We have international students that were able to make it to the campus, and they are actually taking classes online and few classes in person. So it's going really well. I have one student who is international student from Bangladesh, for example. He couldn't make it, and he's taking actually classes literally from his home country, and he's fun. He's having so much fun, and he's liking it, and he will be actually joining us officially fall 2021. So Stony Brook University is taking a great deal of measures to ensure the safety and wellness for both our students, staff, and faculty. In mid-March, many employees transitioned from offices spaces to working remotely, basically because of the safety of everyone. And for residential students planning to come in the spring 2021 semester, Stony Brook University will provide precautionary quarantine housing and free meals for those who need it. So we're going to start February February 1st, and students will be arriving 2 weeks before that. They will be quarantined, and they will be offered all the necessary needed things to on campus. Lastly, so our spring 2021 semester, as I said, because it's projected to start February 1st instead of usually January 24th, we expect the semester to function a lot like the current fall 2020 semester in regards to the safety measures that are being practiced and our online in-person class offerings. So students, staff, and faculty will continue to complete the 10-second screening on campus Clear app or website every day or each time they plan on coming on campus. And there are face masks being offered for free. Face masks are required to be actually worn on campus, and everything, classes, classroom spaces, and everything related is actually being disinfected regularly. If my colleague wants to add anything, please go ahead.
So I think for a couple of our campuses here in the Midwest, as well as I think Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, we're all pretty similar in the sense that we've offered a combination of in-person and online classes. And we have enough classes to accommodate international students who are either starting their program physically on campus to meet the visa requirement. So in order to be an international student and maintain your visa requirement, you are required to enroll in a certain number of in-person or hybrid classes. And so universities who are able to accept students on campus are making sure that students are enrolled in the right number of classes to meet the visa requirements. So if you're coming to campus, you would be taking a combination of online as well as in-person classes or a hybrid class, which you might meet for a period of time for that class in person, and then the rest of it would be online. So that's how we're accommodating students during this time. And I know we've also, I think most of us have been able to have students start their programs from home abroad if they're not able to physically come to the US as well. But if anyone else has anything to add to that as a final point, I think I'll give you the chance to do so now. Otherwise, we'll jump to the next question.
Should we just quickly answer about California, Scott, I guess? We're kind of all on the same page in our state.
Yeah. Yeah, so California has, all of the institutions have gone online and have been online for this past semester. And that was for current students, and new students were able to start online from their home country. So, it remains to be seen if that's going to continue for the spring semester. We're all hoping not. We're hoping that we can be in person with all the correct protocols in place, but that has not been officially decided by the state or really by it's kind of county to county. It hasn't been decided by the county where we're located, and probably not Orange County where you're located either, Chris. So anything to add there?
No, California for the most part is going through a phased reopening process, and public universities and colleges are kind of at the tail end of reopening. So we are monitoring the situation based on data if we can reopen. So with that being said, we're pretty much online for the fall and the spring semester. Most of the California community colleges, which is actually an advantage for a lot of students if you think about it. Our tuition is not as expensive, and you can take classes at home without having to pay for those classes and for arrival and things like that. However, I do understand that there are concerns about students doing online. I know it's been a transition for a lot of our international students. I think the best way for you to kind of get familiar with how that works is really just connect with our current students. Many of us have ways for you to connect through student ambassador programs, through our social media. Some of us use a chat platform called Unibuddy, which is a student ambassador chat program platform. So I would say connect with students to see how that's going. They'll give you definitely an authentic answer of how that works. Actually, if you go on our Instagram account, I do have a live recording of 2 students talking about their experience taking online classes. But I can send you more information about that afterwards as well. Okay, that's all the questions, guys, right? Is there anything else?
Yeah, that should wrap up the question. I know we had answered this one earlier with the M1 F1 visa. So again, just to summarize, the M1 visa is for technical programs, typically at like a technical college or a flight training program. And then the F1 visa would be for a degree program, such as a bachelor's degree, master's, or doctoral program. So I think that wraps up all of our questions for today. So we are going to go ahead and finish our session. So again, if you have any additional questions, hopefully you were able to take down our contact information. So please do feel free to reach out to us by email. And then we'll be sending you a follow-up, like my colleague Chris mentioned, with that Duolingo promo code as well. Thanks everyone for attending. Yumi and Atsuko, I will let you wrap up. It looks like you have some announcements.
Thank you. Thank you very much for wonderful presentation. Please big hands to 6 wonderful speakers. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございました。So it's very early in the morning in the US. So thank you again for 6 of you to join us today. So Education USA in Tokyo have a lot of exciting events coming up. And this Friday, October 30th, we will have Sports とアメリカ留学. And during International Education Week, we have several sessions. Let's see if it works. On STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And also with today's speakers, we will have Counselor Connect sessions on November 20th. So if high school teacher joining us tonight, please join us again next month. For events information, please visit American Center Japan website for more information. And I know it ran out of overtime, but thank you everyone for asking so many questions, and thank you all for answering to all those questions. Thank you again, Bobby, Elizabeth, Rashad, Christopher, Scott, and Yusuf. So I will conclude this webinar. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact Education USA near you. Thank you all for attending. We hope you have learned and enjoyed this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Everybody.
Thank
気
you,
をつけて。
everyone.
バイ。バイバイ。お疲れ様でした。Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.